Ladies and gentlemen, how many of you here have ever found yourself standing at a crossroad, unsure of which way to go? Struggling between two options, torn between your heart and your mind, wondering what is the right choice? We all face moments like these. Life does not always give us a clear answer, but it gives us wisdom if we are willing to pause, reflect, and listen. Today, I want to share with you timeless principles that will help you make the right choices. Not just choices that look good today, but choices that build a better tomorrow. Pause before deciding. Life often pushes us into situations where we feel pressured to act instantly, as if the clock is ticking, and if we don't choose right away, we will lose everything. But the truth is, most of our greatest mistakes happen when we react too quickly. Think about it. When was the last time you regretted a decision? Chances are, it was a choice you made in a rush without giving yourself enough space to breathe and reflect. When we pause, we allow our emotions to settle, because emotions are like waves. They rise high, they crash down, and if you act when they're at their peak, you may say or do something you'll regret forever. But if you wait even a little, the storm quiets down and you can finally see the situation with clarity. Pausing does not mean procrastination. It doesn't mean running away from making a choice. It means giving yourself the dignity of space, the gift of silence, and the chance to hear not just the noise of your fears, but the voice of your wisdom. It means you step away from the pressure of others' expectations and take a moment to connect with your own truth. Many of the world's wisest people, saints, leaders, and thinkers, all understood the power of stillness. Before making life-changing decisions, they sought solitude, silence, or even prayer, because they knew the importance of allowing their inner compass to guide them. When you pause, you are no longer controlled by urgency. You become guided by clarity. You begin to ask deeper questions. Why am I making this choice? Is it based on pressure? Is it based on my fears? Or is it aligned with who I truly want to be? Sometimes, a simple pause reveals that what seemed so important in the heat of the moment was not important at all. And sometimes, it shows you a path you never noticed when you were rushing. Imagine standing in front of two doors. One door looks attractive, filled with instant gratification, but behind it may be pain tomorrow. The other door may look simple, even challenging, but behind it lies peace, growth, and strength. If you rush, you may choose the glittering door without a second thought. But if you pause, if you breathe, if you reflect, you give yourself the chance to recognize what is truly valuable. That pause becomes the difference between a mistake that haunts you and a choice that builds you. So, whenever life places you in a situation where the pressure is unbearable, where everyone around you seems to be demanding a quick answer, give yourself permission to pause. Even if it's just one night, one walk, one prayer, one journal entry, take it. That single pause could save you from years of regret and lead you to a decision that carries not just short-term relief, but long-term fulfillment. Seek alignment with your values. Every human being carries within themselves a set of values, principles that define who they are and what they stand for. These values are like an inner compass, pointing us towards what truly matters in life. The challenge, however, is that in the rush of daily life, in the noise of opinions around us, And in the temptation of temporary benefits, we often forget to consult that compass. We end up making choices that may look good on the surface, but leave us feeling empty inside because they are disconnected from the values we claim to believe in. When you face a decision, big or small, pause and ask yourself, does this choice reflect the person I want to be? If honesty is one of your values, then ask yourself, does this choice honor truth, or am I compromising my integrity for convenience? If kindness is a value, then reflect, does this choice show compassion, or does it cause harm to someone else for my own gain? If faith, love, or service are your values, then see if your choice allows those qualities to flow through you. When your actions and your values are in alignment, you may not always get the easiest path, but you will always get the most fulfilling one. Consider for a moment the people you admire most. Why do you respect them? Chances are, it's not because of how much money they made, how much power they held, or how famous they became. You respect them because they lived by their values, even when it was difficult. Their courage, their honesty, their compassion, these were not accidents. They were the result of choices made in alignment with their deepest principles. And those choices built their character. Likewise, your character is shaped not in the easy moments, but in the hard decisions where you chose values over convenience. Sometimes, aligning with your values will mean walking away from something that looks appealing but doesn't feel right in your heart. It could mean rejecting an opportunity that brings wealth but steals your peace. It could mean standing alone when everyone else is compromising. It could mean saying no when the world expects you to say yes. And yes, that is hard. But remember this, the pain of discipline is always lighter than the pain of regret. When you betray your values, you may win for the moment, but you lose your own respect. When you honor your values, you may face challenges, but you gain a peace that no one can take away. Living in alignment with your values also brings consistency. People around you begin to trust you because they know you will not bend with every wind. They see that your yes means yes and your no means no. They know that your word can be relied upon. That trust is far more powerful than any short-term success gained by compromising. A reputation built on integrity becomes a shield for your life, protecting you from the storms of doubt and the shadows of guilt. So, whenever you are at a crossroad, do not just ask, "What do I want right now?" Ask instead, "Does this reflect who I am? Does this choice keep me true to my values?" That reflection may not give you the easiest path, but it will always give you the right one. Because in the end, success is not about how much you accumulated. It is about how much of yourself you did not lose in the process. The world does not just need people who can make quick choices. It needs people who can make right choices. And the right choice is almost always the one that aligns with your values. Think long term. One of the greatest mistakes we make in life is choosing based on how something feels in the moment without considering what it will mean for us tomorrow. The present is loud. It shouts at us with temptations, with comfort, with short-term rewards that feel so satisfying right now. But the future is quiet. It whispers to us, reminding us of the consequences, reminding us of the person we are becoming, reminding us of the life we are building. And yet, many times we listen to the loud voice of the present and ignore the soft but wise voice of the future. Every choice you make is like planting a seed. Some seeds grow into beautiful trees that give shade, fruit, and shelter for years to come. Others grow into weeds that choke the very life out of your garden. When you think short term, you may choose the weed because it sprouts fast, looks green, and requires little patience. But when you think long term, you know that the tree takes time, effort, and nurturing, yet its rewards will last for generations. The short term may give you pleasure, but the long term gives you legacy. Think about relationships. In the moment, anger might make you want to shout, criticize, or cut someone off. It feels powerful, it feels like relief. But long term, that one word spoken in anger can scar a relationship forever. In that moment, silence or patience may feel harder, but long term it builds trust, respect, and love. The same applies in careers. Taking shortcuts, cheating the system, or compromising on ethics may give you immediate gain, but long term it steals your credibility, your peace, and even your success. On the other hand, doing the right thing may delay your progress in the eyes of the world, but it sets a foundation that cannot be shaken in the years to come. When you look at life only through the lens of today, your decisions become shallow. But when you step back and ask, how will this affect me in 5 years, 10 years? Will I be proud of this choice when I look back? Suddenly your perspective changes. You begin to see beyond temporary happiness and start focusing on lasting fulfillment. That is why wisdom is always connected to foresight, the ability to see beyond what is happening now into what it will produce later. History is filled with examples of people who sacrificed long-term blessings for short-term desires, and they ended up with regret. But it is also filled with people who endured short-term discomfort for long-term impact, and they left a legacy. A student who chooses to study instead of wasting time may not feel the reward instantly, but years later. The knowledge and discipline open doors that laziness could never provide. A person who chooses health today by eating right and exercising may not see results overnight, but in the long term they gain strength, vitality, and years of life. Thinking long term requires maturity. Children live for the moment. They want the candy now, the toy now, the reward now. Adults are supposed to see beyond that, but many grown people still think like children when making choices. They pick what feels good today without considering what it steals from tomorrow. True growth comes when you train yourself to delay gratification, to sacrifice comfort now for greater rewards later. So whenever you are torn between two choices, ask yourself, which of these will make me proud when I look back on it 5 years from now? Which of these will help me grow into the person I want to be? Which of these will give me peace when I'm older and reflect on my journey? Thinking long term does not always make the decision easier, but it always makes it wiser. And the wisest choices are the ones that may not shine immediately, but they glow for a lifetime. Seek guidance from the wise. Life is too vast, too unpredictable, and too complex to be lived entirely on our own understanding. No matter how intelligent we are, no matter how much experience we think we have, there will always be situations where our perspective is limited, where our emotions cloud our vision, and where our judgment is influenced by fear, pride, or impatience. That is why seeking the counsel of those who have walked further on the path of life is not a weakness, it is a strength. It shows humility to admit that you don't know everything, and humility is the gateway to wisdom. When you look at the world's greatest leaders, thinkers, and even spiritual teachers, you will notice that they themselves sought guidance at different points in their journey. Even the most enlightened souls had mentors, guides, or teachers who helped them see what they could not see alone. Because when you are standing too close to a problem, it's like being inches away from a painting. You can see the colors, the strokes, the details, but you miss the full picture. Someone standing a little further back can describe to you the entire canvas. That is what a wise person does. They help you step back and view your situation from a wider perspective. The wise are not just those who are older in years, but those who are richer in experience, deeper in understanding, and calmer in judgment. They may be mentors, parents, teachers, spiritual leaders, or sometimes even a friend who has endured struggles and come out with clarity. Their words are not meant to control your life, but to illuminate it. The right guidance does not take away your freedom. It gives you clarity so you can exercise your freedom with confidence. Sometimes people resist guidance because they feel it makes them appear weak or dependent. But think of it this way: even the best athletes in the world have coaches. The coach may not run the race or play the match, but their experience, their strategies, and their observations help the athlete reach a level they could never achieve alone. Similarly, wise counsel in life does not replace your effort. It refines it. It takes your raw potential and channels it in the right direction. Without it, you may waste years chasing paths that lead nowhere. With it, you can avoid unnecessary mistakes and move toward your goals with greater focus. Another danger of not seeking guidance is that we may fall prey to the illusion of self-sufficiency. Our ego tells us, "I know enough, I don't need anyone else's input." But ego is often the blindfold that keeps us from seeing reality. Guidance is like a light that pierces through that darkness. It reveals blind spots, it shows hidden dangers, and it points out opportunities you might never have considered. A single word of wisdom from someone experienced can save you from years of regret. Of course, not every voice around you deserves to be called guidance. The world is full of opinions, but not all opinions are wise. That is why you must be discerning in choosing whom to listen to. Look at the life of the person advising you. Do they practice what they preach? Do they live with integrity, peace, and purpose? Are their words rooted in values, or are they swayed by selfish interests? The quality of your guidance will always depend on the quality of the person giving it. When you find someone who is truly wise, listen deeply, even if their words are not what you want to hear, for the truth that challenges you is often the truth that transforms you. And remember, guidance does not mean that someone else decides your life for you. Ultimately, the responsibility is yours. But when you take their wisdom, combine it with your reflection, and align it with your values, you make decisions that are stronger, more balanced, and more likely to stand the test of time. A person who walks alone may go fast, but a person who walks with the wisdom of others goes far. The road of life is not meant to be traveled in isolation. It is meant to be traveled with the light of those who have gone before you. Listen to your inner conscience. Deep within every human being, there is a voice that whispers quietly, guiding us toward what is right and warning us when we are about to step into what is wrong. This voice is not loud, it is not demanding, and it does not force its way into our decisions. It is gentle, it is subtle, and it often requires silence to be heard. Yet, despite its softness, it carries a wisdom far greater than our emotions, our impulses, or even the external advice of others. It is the voice of conscience, and when we learn to listen to it, our lives begin to align with truth, integrity, and peace. Many times we already know what the right choice is. It is not that we are completely lost, it is that we silence the voice of conscience because it is inconvenient. The conscience tells us, don't lie, but lying seems easier in the moment. The conscience whispers, don't hurt that person, but anger feels more powerful. The conscience reminds us, don't take what doesn't belong to you, but greed blinds us. We often drown out the voice of conscience with excuses, with justifications, or with the noise of the world. But no matter how much we try to suppress it, it doesn't disappear. It lingers, and when we betray it, it shows up later as guilt, regret, or restlessness. Conscience is like an inner compass that always points toward moral north. You can choose to ignore it, but the direction remains the same. If you follow it, you may face challenges, because doing the right thing is not always the easiest thing. Yet, deep inside, you gain peace, because you know you honored your truth. But if you betray it, even if the world applauds you, you will feel an emptiness that no applause can fill. That is why many successful people still live with anxiety, depression, or discontent, because they have gained everything on the outside but lost their alignment on the inside. Listening to your conscience requires courage. Sometimes it will lead you to decisions that are unpopular. Sometimes it will ask you to stand alone. Sometimes it will ask you to give up something attractive but destructive. And sometimes it will ask you to forgive, to be kind, or to stay silent when your ego is screaming for revenge. These are not easy choices, but they are the choices that build character. The world may not always understand you when you follow your conscience, but your soul will thank you. One of the greatest ways to strengthen your conscience is to cultivate silence and reflection in your life. The noise of constant distractions, social media, endless conversations, rushing schedules, drowns out that inner voice. But when you sit in silence, when you meditate, when you pray, or when you simply reflect, that voice becomes clearer. It is like tuning a radio, the static fades, and suddenly you hear the signal. If you never slow down, you may never hear the wisdom already present within you. Conscience also grows sharper when you live by it consistently. Every time you honor it, you make it stronger. Every time you ignore it, you weaken it. Just like a muscle, the conscience can be trained. A person who listens to it often becomes more sensitive to what is right and wrong, while a person who constantly silences it eventually dulls their moral awareness. That is why some people commit small wrongs and feel deep guilt, while others commit great wrongs and feel nothing. The difference is how long they have been silencing their conscience. And yet, even if you have ignored it for years, the conscience never dies. It is patient. It waits. At any point in your life, you can begin to listen again. You can realign. You can start making decisions that restore integrity to your heart. The voice may have grown faint, but with attention, it becomes strong once more. So when you are struggling to make a choice, pause, quiet the world, and ask yourself honestly, what does my conscience say? You may not always like the answer, but deep down, you will know it is true. And when you follow it, you may lose comfort, you may lose convenience, but you will never lose peace. Peace is the reward of a conscience honored, and no wealth, no achievement, no recognition can replace that. Don't let fear decide for you. Fear is one of the most powerful forces in human life, and if we are not careful, it can quietly sit in the driver's seat of our decisions. Fear disguises itself as caution, as logic, as practicality, but in reality, it is often the invisible chain that keeps us from stepping into growth. Many people do not fail in life because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because fear whispered to them, what if you fall? What if you are rejected? What if it doesn't work? And they listened. Fear is persuasive, but it is rarely truthful. Think about it. How many times have you said no to something not because it was wrong? Not because it was unwise, but simply because you were afraid. Afraid of judgment, afraid of uncertainty, afraid of leaving your comfort zone. And yet, every great achievement, every powerful transformation, every meaningful step in history came from someone who refused to let fear have the final say. Fear might have been in their heart, but faith, courage, or determination was stronger. Fear tends to magnify possibilities of failure while minimizing possibilities of success. It is like a distorted lens. It shows you everything that could go wrong, but hides from you what could go right. If you let fear control your decisions, you end up living a life of safety, but not a life of fulfillment. You stay in the job you hate because fear says, what if you can't find another one? You remain in toxic relationships because fear says, what if you end up alone? You silence your dreams because fear says, what if people laugh at you? And slowly, your life becomes smaller and smaller until it is no longer led by your vision, but by your limitations. But when you look back, you will realize that most of the fears that stopped you were only illusions. How many things you once feared turned out to be nothing? How many times did you survive situations you thought would break you? Fear loves to exaggerate, but reality is usually gentler than the nightmare we create in our minds. And even in the times when what you fear does come true, you also discover something else. You are stronger than you thought. You find that rejection did not destroy you, failure did not define you, and loss did not end you. It hurt, yes, but it also grew you. This is why letting fear make your decisions is so dangerous. It robs you of opportunities for growth. Every time you choose courage over fear, you expand. Every time you choose fear over courage, you shrink. Life will never be free of risks, but it is not the absence of fear that defines strength. It is the ability to move forward despite fear. Courage is not the opposite of fear. It is the decision that fear will not rule you. When making choices, ask yourself, am I choosing this because it is truly the right path? Or am I choosing it because I am scared of what might happen if I go the other way? If fear is your only reason, that is a weak foundation for a decision. Build your choices on faith, on values, on long-term vision, on conscience, not on fear. Because fear will always push you toward the smaller life, the safer road, the easier path. But faith, courage, and wisdom will push you toward the road where you may stumble, but you will grow, where you may fall, but you will rise, where you may struggle, but you will become stronger. Fear will always be there. It is part of being human. But it does not have to be your master. You can acknowledge its presence, but you don't have to obey it. The greatest freedom is not living without fear, but living without letting fear decide. When you stop letting fear dictate your choices, you begin to live a life that is bigger, braver, and truer to who you are meant to be. Consider who you'll become. Every choice you make is not just about what you gain or lose in the moment. It is about the kind of person you are shaping yourself into. Life is not simply about achieving things or collecting experiences. It is about becoming. Each decision acts like a sculptor's tool, slowly carving your character, your habits, and your destiny. When you stand at a crossroads, you are not just choosing between two external paths. You are choosing who you will be tomorrow. This is why it is so important to ask, if I make this choice, what kind of person am I becoming? Often, we are tempted to make decisions based on convenience, popularity, or comfort. But the easier choice may not always lead to the stronger version of you. Taking shortcuts might give you success today, but it weakens your discipline. Compromising your principles might give you applause in the moment, but it erodes your integrity. On the other hand, choosing the difficult path, the one aligned with truth and values, might cost you something now, but it builds resilience, strength, and character that will serve you for the rest of your life. The person you become matters far more than the things you achieve. Think about this: wealth can be lost, jobs can change, relationships can shift, but the person you become through your decisions remains with you always. You carry your character wherever you go. If your choices are constantly making you dishonest, fearful, selfish, or lazy, then no amount of external success will ever bring you inner peace. But if your choices are shaping you into someone who is kind, strong, disciplined, and wise, then even if the world takes away everything, you will still stand tall, because your true treasure is the person you have become. Life has a way of testing us. Sometimes you will be given opportunities that tempt you to sacrifice your values. Sometimes you will face struggles that make giving up seem easier than enduring. Sometimes you will stand alone while everyone else takes the easy road. In those moments, the question is not just, what do I get out of this? But who do I become through this? If you always choose comfort, you may become weak. If you always choose avoidance, you may become fearful. But if you choose courage, even when trembling, you become brave. If you choose integrity, even when tempted, you become trustworthy. If you choose perseverance, even when exhausted, you become unshakable. This is the deeper wisdom of choice. It is not only about outcomes, it is about transformation. Every decision is like adding a brick to the building of your character. One by one, choice by choice, you are constructing the house in which your soul will live. If you build it with dishonesty, with shortcuts, with fear, the house will collapse under pressure. But if you build it with patience, with truth, with courage, with kindness, it will stand strong through every storm. When you look back years from now, the question that will matter most is not, What did I achieve? But who did I become? Did your choices make you bitter or better? Did they make you selfish or selfless? Did they make you shallow or wise? Each moment of decision is like a mirror, reflecting not just what you want, but what you are becoming. So the next time you are struggling to make the right choice, step beyond the immediate gain or loss and ask yourself honestly, if I choose this path, am I moving closer to the best version of myself or further away from it? That simple reflection can change the direction of your life. Because in the end, the world may remember what you did, but you will live every day with who you became. Detached from short-term pleasures, one of the greatest struggles in life is that the things which give us the most satisfaction in the long run often demand patience, discipline, and sacrifice, while the things that tempt us immediately are usually the ones that leave us empty later. Human nature is wired to crave instant gratification. We want comfort now, reward now, recognition now. But if we live only for what feels good in the moment, we end up sacrificing the very things that could have brought us deeper fulfillment in the future. Short-term pleasures are like sugar. They taste sweet now, but too much of them weaken you, drain you, and sometimes even destroy you. Think about the many choices people regret later in life. Overspending on luxuries instead of saving for stability. Indulging in unhealthy habits instead of investing in health. Seeking shallow relationships instead of nurturing meaningful ones. Giving in to anger instead of practicing patience. Each of these comes from choosing the temporary high over the lasting reward. And while they satisfy for a moment, they often leave behind a trail of regret. The greatest trap of short-term pleasure is that it feels urgent and necessary, but once you indulge, you realize it wasn't worth the cost. The ability to delay gratification, to say no to something appealing now, because you are saying yes to something greater later, is one of the hallmarks of maturity and wisdom. Children live for immediate satisfaction. They want the candy now, even if it ruins their appetite. Adults, however, are meant to see beyond the moment. Yet sadly, many grown people continue to live with the mindset of children, chasing pleasures without considering their price. True strength comes when you can look at something tempting and ask yourself, what will this cost me tomorrow? Is this pleasure worth the price of my peace, my health, my growth, or my future? Detaching from short-term pleasures does not mean rejecting joy or denying yourself happiness. Life is meant to be enjoyed. It simply means learning to choose pleasures that are sustainable, meaningful, and aligned with your long-term values. There is a vast difference between joy that nourishes your soul and pleasure that drains it. Joy may require effort and patience, but it lasts. Shallow pleasures often disappear as soon as they arrive, leaving you emptier than before. The people who achieve the most meaningful lives are not those who never felt temptation, but those who learned to master it. They disciplined themselves to say no when it mattered, to wait when waiting was hard, and to endure when endurance felt painful. Over time, their discipline became their freedom. They were not slaves to every impulse or desire. They were in control of themselves. And self-mastery is the greatest power a human being can ever hold. On the other hand, when you become attached to instant gratification, you lose your freedom. You become a slave to impulses, constantly chasing the next thrill, the next comfort, the next escape. You lose control of your life because your choices are no longer guided by wisdom, but by craving. The sad reality is that many people spend their whole lives running from one short term pleasure to another, only to look back one day and realize they never built anything lasting. So, when faced with a choice, ask yourself, am I making this decision because it feels good now or because it will be good for me later? If it only satisfies you in the moment but leaves you weaker tomorrow, it is not worth it. True happiness often requires sacrifice in the short term, but rewards in the long term. The student who studies while others waste time may miss out on immediate fun, but gains a future filled with opportunities. The person who invests in health may say no to certain pleasures today, but gains years of energy and vitality tomorrow. The one who controls their anger in the moment may feel restrained, but gains respect and harmony in the long run. Detachment from short term pleasures is not about denying yourself life, it is about elevating yourself above the traps of the temporary so you can enjoy the treasures of the lasting. It is about choosing not just what feels good, but what does good. And when you live this way, you discover a deeper, more stable joy, one that cannot be shaken by passing temptations, because it is rooted in wisdom, discipline, and truth. Look for peace, not just success. In a world that constantly measures worth by titles, possessions, and recognition, it is very easy to equate success with happiness. From a young age, we are conditioned to believe that if we achieve a certain position, earn a certain income, or acquire certain possessions, then we will finally feel complete. And so we chase success like it is the ultimate goal of life. Yet, countless people who have climbed to the very top will tell you that success without peace is one of the heaviest burdens you can ever carry. You may sit in the biggest house, wear the finest clothes, or drive the most expensive car, but if you cannot sleep peacefully at night, then none of it matters. True fulfillment does not come from what you achieve externally, but from the state of your inner world. Peace is that quiet confidence, that calmness of heart, that gentle stillness that tells you, I am okay, I am content, I am aligned with what truly matters. Success may give you applause, but peace gives you rest. Success may bring you attention, but peace brings you balance. Success may win you competition, but peace allows you to enjoy life without constantly comparing yourself to others. When you make choices in life, it is tempting to ask, will this make me more successful? But the deeper question is, will this give me peace? Because there are many ways to succeed that rob you of peace. Compromising your values, sacrificing relationships, neglecting health, or chasing endless ambition without pause. Such paths may bring external results, but they leave the soul exhausted. What is the point of standing on the highest peak if you are restless inside? Peace does not mean you avoid ambition or give up on striving for excellence. It simply means you choose paths that align with integrity, balance, and authenticity. Success achieved without losing yourself. Peace means you don't just win in the eyes of the world, you win in the silence of your own heart. It means you can sit quietly without the need for constant distraction because you are not battling guilt, regret, or emptiness. It means that no matter what storm rages outside, there is a center of stillness within you that remains untouched. To find peace, you must redefine success for yourself. For some, success is not millions in the bank, but meaningful work that serves others. For others, it is not recognition from the crowd, but quiet moments with family, faith, or nature. The tragedy is when people spend their entire lives climbing a ladder, only to discover it was leaning against the wrong wall. They chased success but neglected peace, and in the end, they are left wondering, was it worth it? Peace is also found in balance. Success often tempts you to sacrifice one area of life for another. Career at the cost of health, wealth at the cost of relationships, ambition at the cost of spirituality. But peace requires harmony. It asks you to nurture all aspects of your being: body, mind, heart, and soul. You cannot truly be at peace if your mind is restless, your health is neglected, your relationships are broken, or your conscience is troubled. Peace is wholeness, and wholeness comes from balance. When making decisions, ask not only, will this bring me forward in life? But also, will I be able to rest with this decision? If success brings you stress, if achievement brings you emptiness, if recognition brings you anxiety, then it is not worth it. The real measure of a good decision is not just whether it advances your career or reputation, but whether it allows you to sleep peacefully, to smile genuinely, and to live freely without constant inner conflict. Remember, success is temporary, peace is eternal. Success depends on circumstances, peace depends on alignment. Success can be taken away by failure, but peace, once rooted in your heart, remains unshaken even in loss. The richest man is not the one who has the most, but the one who rests the most peacefully at night. So when you are standing at a crossroads, do not just chase the option that promises you success in the world's eyes. Choose the one that will let you live with peace in your own eyes. Because in the end, when applause fades and achievements grow old, what you will cherish most is not the noise of success, but the silence of peace. Have faith in the journey. Life is not a straight line where everything unfolds in a clear and predictable order. It is more like a winding path through valleys, mountains, and unexpected turns. At times the road feels smooth, and at times it feels unbearably steep. There are moments when we feel certain about where we are headed, and other times when we feel completely lost. The natural instinct in those confusing moments is to question everything: our choices, our timing, even ourselves. But what truly carries us forward when answers are not clear is faith. Faith is that quiet strength that whispers, even if I cannot see the whole picture now, I trust that this step is leading me somewhere meaningful. Many of us want control. We want guarantees before we make choices. We want to know exactly how things will turn out before we take the risk. But life rarely gives us that luxury. Often, the wisdom of our decisions is revealed only much later. What seems like a detour may actually be the most important chapter. What feels like a failure may become the very experience that equips us for our greatest success. Faith is the bridge that helps us move forward when logic alone cannot explain the road ahead. It gives us the courage to step even when the path is not fully visible. Think of a seed buried in the soil. To the eye, it looks like it has been lost, covered in darkness, hidden from the world. But within that hidden place, something powerful is happening. The seed is breaking open, roots are forming, and new life is preparing to emerge. If you judged the seed only in that moment of darkness, you would think nothing was happening, or worse, that it was destroyed. But with patience and trust, you eventually see the sprout rise toward the light. In the same way, our choices and struggles often look meaningless when we are in the middle of them. But with faith, we allow time and life to reveal the growth that is taking place in ways we cannot yet see. Faith does not mean passivity. It is not about sitting back and waiting for life to unfold while doing nothing. Faith is active trust. It is continuing to do what is right, even when the results are delayed. It is choosing integrity, even when dishonesty looks easier. It is working hard, even when recognition is far away. It is holding on to patience, even when everything inside you wants to rush. Faith is not blind. It is built on a deep understanding that life has seasons, and every season has a purpose, even if we cannot grasp it now. Without faith, every obstacle feels like the end. But with faith, obstacles become lessons, delays become preparation, and losses become redirection. Many of the world's greatest stories are born not in moments of ease, but in times of difficulty, where faith kept people moving when everything else told them to stop. Faith is what steadies you when doors close unexpectedly. Faith is what gives you strength to believe that there is another door waiting, even if you cannot yet see it. Faith is what keeps you from giving up on yourself when the world seems to have given up on you. When you struggle to make the right choice, you may fear making mistakes. But faith allows you to move forward, knowing that even mistakes can be turned into wisdom. Even failures can be turned into stepping stones. Faith transforms regret into growth and confusion into clarity with time. It tells you that your life is not defined by a single wrong step, but by your willingness to keep walking, to keep learning, to keep trusting that the journey itself has meaning. At the end of the day, peace of heart comes not from knowing every answer, but from trusting the one who sees the bigger picture. It is knowing that the journey has its own intelligence, its own rhythm, its own hidden blessings. You may not understand today why you had to go through certain valleys, but one day you will look back and see how every valley shaped you, strengthened you, and prepared you for the mountain you were meant to climb. Faith does not eliminate uncertainty, but it gives you the courage to walk through it. It does not remove the storms, but it anchors you so the storms do not carry you away. So when you stand at a decision point, when you are torn between fear and hope, between doubt and courage, remind yourself, you do not have to see the entire journey. You only need to take the next step with faith. Step by step, choice by choice, faith will lead you where you are meant to be. And one day, when you look back, you will realize that even the most confusing turns were guiding you towards something greater than you could have imagined.